a lot. Yeah, I was brought up Catholic in this little neighborhood, and we had kind of there was this little L-shaped block. I don't know if you can see that, but we had my grandmother's house was here, and I lived in there with my mom and my dad and my grandparents and my sister. And then there was a field, and there was the nuns' convent. I spent quite a bit of time there, unfortunately. And a priest's rectory. Then there was the Catholic church right on the corner. And across the street was my aunt's house with a couple of cousins in it. And next door to my aunt's was my other aunt and uncles with 3 sort of grown cousins in it. And then the 2 houses down was my great-grandmother's house with another aunt in it, I believe. And that was the Irish side of the family. Now across the street was my mother's mother, my grandmother, and then her daughter and my uncle and another cousin. So we all lived merrily in this little. This was like it was very unusual, and in the center of it all was the church. I saw every wedding and every funeral. I saw more people carted away in a black Cadillac by the time I was 10 than I care to remember. But and also the weddings, we'd run down and we'd pick up the rice from the weddings and we would take it home and we would save it. And then when there was another wedding, we would go down and throw it. And then we'd pick it up again and take it home. And that was entertainment. That passed for, that's pre-PlayStation entertainment right there. But it was sort of an interesting, I kind of had hard feelings about it till about 6 months ago. And then I figured, well, what the hell, But it was for a child, you grew up in the shadow of all that institution, and it was filled with sort of mystery and terror, and there was also great beauty in it and enormous poetry, it sort of worked its way into all my songs, and so I suppose that they have the last laugh over there. Of course, now I go over to the nuns' convent, and now they give me beer and let me watch the ball game. So, celebrity, what can I tell you? It's just the perks, baby, just the perks, So it's a different day, but I wrote a lot of songs about parents and children on this record, and so I thought, well, I'm going to try and write something from the standpoint of Jesus as someone's child, as someone's, and what it's like to have your children choose their own destiny as they do, and of course, you are along for the merry ride wherever it goes. But this is called Jesus Was an Only Son. Well, Jesus was an only son as they walked up Calvary Hill. His mother Mary walking beside him in the path where his blood spilled. Jesus was an only son in the hills of Nazarene, as he lay reading the Psalms of David, well, at his mother's feet. The first thing you realize when you have your kids is that this feeling that appears in your gut that there's nothing you wouldn't do, no train you wouldn't step in front of to keep them safe, and that's a life sentence. The mother prays, sleep tight, my child, sleep well. tolling bell. It'll pierce your dreams this night. I also figure that if our choices are given weight and meaning by the things that we sacrifice, and you choose some part of life and you give up something else, I always figured Jesus had to be thinking about what he was going to lose. He must have been thinking that Galilee, really nice this time of year. That little bar down by the beach where he's sure they need somebody to manage a place. Mary Magdalene, she could tend bar. You don't have to quit the preaching, you could just save it for the weekends. And they could have a bunch of kids. You get to see the sun fall on their face. And get to see the air fill their lungs at night when they're sleeping. And you get to see the next day. And 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 the next day. In the garden at Gethsemane, he prayed for the life he'd never lived. He beseeched his heavenly Father to remove the cup of death from his lips. Now there's a loss that can never be replaced, a destination that can never be reached, a light you'll never find in another space, a sea whose distance cannot